one thing I really wanted to ask you about was this little recorded song, not exactly song, called Dr. Salafia and the tea parody.
Yeah.
What was that all about? It was hilarious.
Well, it was firstly it was sort of we went out on a limb on actually putting that in the CD. There's a band called Amidst the Chaos. They used to be I don't think they're active anymore, but the drummer was a good friend of mine. And the thing is that his name is Anshul Adhikari, and he knows me pretty well. Yeah, no, in the sense he knows that I would do such a thing. I would call up and talk in a funny voice and try.
Was that you?
Yeah. And the other guy was Anshul, the guy who I'm trying to sell the beats to is Anshul. So
Buy the beats from.
buy the beats from. Yeah, I'm trying to buy beats from him. So I actually just called him up to talk to him about something else. But I started messing with him, and he was just buying everything I was saying, and it just went on. It was really funny. And then like internally within like the fraternity of bands, it started getting passed around, as a viral. People were just Bluetoothing it to each other and saying, "Man, you got to hear this. He fucked his head, and it's really fun." And we sort of just put it in the artwork while we were printing the CD. We just kind of put it in there. So now we're forced to put it because there's already a song called Dr. Salafia and the Tea Parody. What are you going to do? You're going to have to stick it in the album. And honestly speaking, the whole non-metal, that whole group in everywhere we go, kind of suddenly start paying attention to Scribe because of that one song. I remember being in Shillong and people from random cars was whizzing by, sticking their heads out of their window and going, "Can you give me beats?" And so that was cool, man, because I think people, we weren't very sure how people would react to it. We knew that it was funny because it made everybody laugh, but I don't know whether a fan or like when someone gets a CD and listens to something like this, whether they actually, how do they react to saying, "Hey man, you just ruined my whole musical moment here," or "This band is so cool." I don't know which one of the two it is that goes with it, but
it's all about transforming the grim expression to like a smile, When you listen to a Scribe album, you don't listen to it like
we like the opposite frowns.
opposite, like
upside down frowns.
Upside down frowns are cool.
It's clear that the Indian metal scene is growing, and it's enormously these days. But then we have very little idea on the hardcore scene of India. Is there a specific hardcore scene
Here it
there?
is.
No, there is no
That's it?
specific hardcore
This is
scene.
the hardcore scene.
But there's new
Sorry
extreme
for the-
music.
Inconvenience.
yes. Sadly.
There's a lot of new metal bands coming, and there's a lot of people who are trying new sounds with heavy music, and heavy music has more takers than ever before. Now, so like we just recently played at a festival called the N87 Weekend, where there was one dedicated called the Rock Arena. There was one dedicated heavy music stage, and it was packed all 3 days. Although there were 5 other stages to choose from, electronica and dubstep and folk and what have you around you. A lot of other stuff was there, but metal, that stage at no point had any dearth of crowd. There was never a time where that place looked like, I wish there were more people there. There was always more people than you could handle. And in a place like Bombay, heavy music really works because there's so many reasons to be angry and so many reasons to kind of let something out, some sort of frustration out. So whether it is grabbing a microphone and screaming into it, or if you're an audience member just jumping in a mosh pit, it just makes you feel better because the city puts you through a lot of shit.
Okay, talking about the metal scene there, it seems like there are several different city-based scenes, in larger cities like Mumbai, Delhi, or Bangalore. How do these scenes differ from each other in terms of the music being produced?
I think it's genre-based.
There's more of genre is like an era-based thing. Like Bombay is into that more experimental phase of things right now, at least. Like from a
Gent.
Kind of. I think Delhi is more towards the gent side with Sky Harbor and Undying Week and stuff like that are more like the completely modern metal and modern.
Whereas down south, they are still into the 80s.
80s and
like
Cryptos.
I mean, we won't name the bands, but still old school in some way. But they're still keeping the scene alive, which is a good thing, in some way. So, but You go down
Your
down
preference.
south, it's more progressive
Yeah.
and alternative kind of music that you find,
Even,
like the bands and
even the
stuff.
attitudes of people in these cities vary a lot.
Yeah,
Like Delhi,
and that's really what defines where the bands go, because it's about what the audience kind of takes to, and therefore down south is a certain way. The more you go towards the north, or you go towards like the metros, all 4 or 5 metros truly have very different directions and very different things that the audience prefer.
Like Bangalore would be like a very
I think Bombay is
judgmental
getting,
crowd,
getting
they
more
would
into the
actually-
whole electronica.
Like if you play in
And dubstep
Bangalore,
scene.
you'll see that most people would not take their eyes off the guitar player's
Right.
fretboard. Because they're very technical. So they're constantly looking at the guitar player and what he's playing and how he's playing.
So you tell him to jump him.
And you just have like people looking at, what's that drummer doing? What pattern is he playing? And what scale is that? Is
Really
that
clinical
album
about
or-
No, I think if the guitarist jumps, then they walk out. New metal.
baggy pants.
I think, but Delhi
yeah.
was I think some of the most progressive audiences that we've experienced in our, like, on the number of shows we've played since the last 6 years. Delhi was actually the first place that actually accepted everything that we did. So we used to feel so much at home there. That it's everything, not just the audience, even the people who used to get us there. In Bombay, there have been gigs where we've played where the only audience was the band that's going to play after us. So they're just watching us. So like 3 guys in the audience, so just 2 guys and their girlfriends or something like that. Like, we weren't welcome, or our music wasn't embraced by an audience at all.